I want to talk about this Twinkie study. I want to make sure that ladies and humans know that there is, even though this review or this study isn't really like a study, right? It's just like a
It's an experiment.
experiment. It's a demonstration. It's a at home, let me see what happens when I let my curiosity go. And
We
because this
call
guy,
that anecdotal experience.
anecdotal experience. And because this guy, it was or is a nutrition professor, we know that there's some like this is his life's work. And we know this, right? Our life's work is coaching women and helping them feel strong and empowered. And we would go to any lengths to help our clients understand like the things that they need to understand.
Yeah, this
And so,
professor is making an informed decision, just like we want our listeners to do, is make informed decisions.
you
It's
know,
science in the way that, like, we can think about science in real life, in real application
yes,
outside of a research lab. Like, in a research lab and in life, you have a hypothesis, right? If your hypothesis is, "Can I eat processed food and still lose weight?" Or, "Can I go keto and experience weight loss? Can I do this exercise program?" Everything you do is a hypothesis,
it's an
and
input.
what your factors are, what you're controlling, the things within your control, and then you're also acknowledging the confounding factors, the things outside of your control. That is what science is. Have a
Exactly.
hypothesis, test the hypothesis, get the conclusion, whether it is in line with your opinion or your desires doesn't matter. Science does not give a fuck about your opinion.
Data over feelings, baby. Welcome back to the Overt Thinking podcast, the show for women navigating fitness, health, and life in a world that makes everything way more complicated than it needs to be. We're your hosts. I'm Bree.
And I'm Kelsey.
And if you're here, chances are you're tired of overthinking every fitness trend that demands us to shrink and has us feeling like we're failing at a system that never wanted to see us win, anyways.
This podcast is your space for honest conversation, evidence based guidance, and permission to do things differently. So you can stop spiraling, start trusting yourself, and build a better version of health. Maybe you've wondered what types of foods you need to eat in order to lose weight, or maybe you think you need to cut processed foods entirely. Well, today we're explaining an interesting experiment one professor did to lose 27 pounds in 2 months. But
But first, before we set your mind at ease, we'd like to play our favorite little game. And today, we're going to do a little influence?
I think so.
Yeah, what?
Unless you have a this or
No,
that.
no, let's go into it. Is there anything that's top of mind for you right now?
Well, something relevant in this week that I've talked about a lot on this podcast is my experience with back pain, and it's chronic at this point where it's, bad for a while, it gets better, gets triggered again, and a large part of what was like making like the environment that was keeping me in pain was my mattress.
Oh,
I decided that it was the year
mm,
to finally invest in a new mattress. So I don't necessarily have one mattress that I'm influencing because there's so goddamn many. And honestly, this process has been the worst
I
of
was going to
like,
say mattress shopping is aligned to, or it's like parallel to car shopping.
I think mattress shopping is harder because you need to like sleep in it for like a while in order to like know whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And so, I'm a Reddit gal and I was on Reddit and there's like a mattress specific thread that's like, what's the best mattress? And like you go to it thinking you'll find like, oh, this one is the best mattress. But the top comment that's the most upvoted is like, this thread sucks. There, it's actually more confusing that like everybody's input just makes it worse. Just go like test drive them out.
Yeah.
And that's really what you have to do. I did get got by the sales process at Mattress Firm. I went in, I was like, this is the one I want. I want to get it at Costco because it's like affordable. They have
Right.
a
Warranty.
lifetime guarantee. You can return
Mhm.
it at any time, which I totally should have done, but I got by the sales process. And the one I ended up with was a Beauty Rest Black Series 3. It's like a medium firm pillow top. It's got the coils and memory foam and like a whole other bunch of layers. So far, so good. We'll see and hope my back pain improves continuously.
I am so dead. The fact that you got by a sales process makes
Oh,
me
yeah.
think that Mattress Firm has got their sales pitch dialed.
It was honestly impressive. Like, both Seth and I went, and he was, like, reluctant. He was like, "I don't wanna go on this journey. Like, I know what's
Yeah,
gonna
Seth's a
happen."
skeptic. If you guys don't know Seth, he's like very much a skeptic.
He's a sales guy. He can smell that
Exactly.
shit from a mile away, and it was, like, the salesiest sales process of all time, like, next to car salesmen.
Yeah.
He had a whole thing. He didn't wanna show me the one that I came in for. He's like, "Well, let's put you here first. Let's do the whole thing. Let's go through the motions. Let's do the thing." And he, like, was like, "You guys need to lay down in this bed, and then I'll change the settings and determine where you land." And I'm like, "Okay, dude, like, I know how this goes. I
How did you
too."
get to taking his pitch?
I was just going along with it. I was like, "Okay, sure. Yep." He's like, "How does this one feel?" I was like, "I don't know, like a mattress." I was kinda, like, cold to him in the
Yeah,
beginning.
you're doing black cat energy, huh?
Oh, totally. Because I know how this shit is gonna go. Just show me the one that I'm here for. And so, he shows us a couple. He's like, "Okay, based on what you told me, you like this one." And so I almost went with the Tempur-Pedic, even though I had gone in saying, like, "I don't want a memory foam." I He almost got me and almost put me in a memory foam. But then I was like, "No." The one that I came for was a dupe of a Four Seasons mattress that I fell in love with at an Airbnb, and my back felt so good. Granted, there's so much more context to just a mattress.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and so I left with the one that I originally came for. Granted I paid a little extra, but I got it in, like, 2 days, so
Okay. So we are de-influencing Mattress Firm specifically because if you think you want a mattress, don't go there.
'cause you
Mattress
will get
Firm has
got.
been practicing that sales pitch for like 60 years and they're like, we get them every time.
There's a reason they're still around. Like,
For
most
sure.
chains, like restaurants, I feel like die and fizzle out because we've all
Yeah,
just moved on and everybody wants to order things online. There's a reason Mattress Firm's still around.
totally. So I'm going to influence something that I think just needs to be said on the podcast. Have I talked about Newly yet?
No, tell us.
Right? Okay, so I think this is totally the moment because when
Yeah.
we were in Costa Rica, I had finally convinced Rachel to like do a Nuuly because I was like, you don't know what to wear. Packing for a trip is like so not fun when you're like going
Mhm.
through the same shit. You're like, I don't even know how this dress is going to feel in Costa Rica, right? So when we had your birthday, we had a couple like different things we were doing. And especially living in Chicago, I don't want to buy a ton of heavy coats, but I
Right.
like to have like a fresh wardrobe. Like I
You
like to
want a
have
fresh
things to look.
fit.
Yeah, exactly. Like I want to have something to look forward to wear, you
Right.
know? So Newly, it's only $100 a month, but you get 6 pieces. And
Hmm.
a lot of it's brands from like Anthropologie, Nordstrom, like even like very expensive brands. Like I rented a peacoat that was like an $800 peacoat for a month, which basically ended up being like 20 bucks to rent it for a month.
Right.
And I ended up buying it after because it was so heavily discounted because it'd been rented like I don't know,
Cool.
like 6 or 7 times. So the more something's rented, the cheaper it is for you to buy.
Ooh, that's
Which
nice.
yeah, which is kinda nice for things like jeans too, because I anytime I buy a pair of jeans from the store, I end up not liking them because
And
they're
you
not
kinda want them to
worn.
be, like, a little lived in,
Exactly.
right?
Especially with denim, right?
Right.
Because 'Cause you're like, they kinda have to, like, fit the legs and fit and the other thing about Nuuly, the last thing that I really love is when I'm actually shopping for it because I hate online shopping. I online shopping to disassociate. When it's time to actually buy something, can't do it, can't
Yep,
hack it.
yep, yep.
So, Nuuly, I'll, like, save things to my quote unquote "closet," and you can have, like,
Mm,
unlimited, so when it's time to actually go get something, I can just go and look at the things that I've already favorited and be
that's
like, "Oh,
cool.
yeah, like, I do need a skirt," or, like, um, I do want, like, sparkly pants, and
Cool.
so, yeah,
So
I'm
I know
super
we're
into Nuuly.
not, like, sponsored by anyone yet, but do you have, like,
Yeah.
a discount code that you can share or, like, a
I
trial?
I have, like, a you know how, like, the refer your friends and they get, like, 10 bucks or they get, like,
Yeah,
certain percent off their first box. Yeah, we could put it in
yeah.
the show notes. I digress. That was a great influence de-influence because those are very timely for
I
us.
love it. I love it. So let's get into our actual topic today.
Yeah.
We talked about which is the Twinkie experiment. This professor at Kansas State University did a little anecdotal experiment on himself. So let's kind of set the scene on what happened. Like I said, he was a professor. Mark Hobb decided he wanted to fuck around and find out and figure out what would happen if he consumed a diet strictly of processed foods. He was, and this all was triggered because he was frustrated by students and honestly the general public misunderstanding weight loss. And there's this common thinking that certain foods automatically make you gain fat. Like maybe you've heard, oh, don't eat too much fruit because it says it causes fat gain because hashtag sugar or something.
Right. And this nutrition professor was in the trenches of seeing the obesity epidemic like catapult. And so he designed this teaching experiment, which is not a recommendation. It was not a do this at home thing. It was just a demonstration for both himself and, his students and then the general public. But he consumed Twinkies, Nutty Bars, Swiss rolls, Doritos, sugary cereals, basically all things ultra processed for 2 whole months. And another important detail is that for protein, he was drinking milk and he was having some protein supplements. And he doesn't really say too much beyond that. He was also eating some canned vegetables and like one raw, like a tomato, like a raw vegetable a day and a multivitamin. But the most important factor and the true lever behind this whole study is that he consumed no more than 1,800 calories a day. And he limited his caloric intake to, which was for him, a calculated calorie deficit. So he essentially wanted to present once and for all if the obesity epidemic was largely impacted just due to the quality of the foods that these people were eating, or if it really was more due to the quantity of food he was eating or that people are eating.
Yeah. And
So,
we'll get into more of the details on why context matters.
yes.
So, what had happened was specifically in the 10 weeks, he lost 27 pounds, which, if someone saw that on paper, like, oh, I can eat processed food and lose 27 pounds, great. Yep. That would be a perfect world.
Yep.
And interestingly, he actually saw some of his blood markers improve. So, his LDL cholesterol, triglycerides went down, and he also had improved blood pressure.
And it is important to note that Mark did also commit to exercising 60 to 120 minutes per week, which we also know, just for context, plays a role in general energy balance and therefore, contributed to his caloric deficit. Um, So while this might not seem great for weight loss, and this isn't really long enough to see what happens to your soul and your like life, and your gut microbiome for that matter. But losing weight is one thing, but how do you feel when you're doing it? So we'll get more into that nuance of things, but I do think it's important to note he was exercising a bit and he is a professor. So he was on his feet intermittently throughout the day as well.
Yep, and the internet, of course, went crazy with the headlines. They were reporting that this professor ate junk food and got healthier.
Like you can
And
even see it, right? It's like Twinkies cause weight loss. You're like, what the hell? This is
yeah,
not what it
and
was
then
telling us.
it adds more confusion to the chaos. And this is where
Yeah,
we are really fucked up as a society is we think that a lighter body status is synonymous with health, especially in with the rise of weight loss medications. While they are beneficial,
for
we
some.
need proper lifestyle habits to help us feel good and actually live well.
Yep. And the internet saw, quote, you can eat junk food and lose body fat, but we know that is such a limited view of things. And that puts people like you and me and everyone listening to this in such deeper confusion when the study was really trying to do the opposite, right? It was trying to clarify and debunk, like, no, it's just about calories and calories about, which we know is not all of the truth, but it was trying to be clear and show the public, but it actually ended up in some ways doing the opposite. And another thing that wasn't reported was how well he was able to perform, whether in exercise or at work. They didn't talk about his mental acuity or any brain fog he was experiencing during his teaching. They didn't report how like strong or how his hunger cues might have changed throughout the course of the study. Like he was craving more in different foods during this Twinkie study. A Twinkie that's this big is not going to satiate you at all. And the biggest challenge with these processed foods is that they're devoid of nutrients that help us actually stay full and keep us from eating again sooner. So things like protein, fiber, and then the quality of food like vitamins and minerals that we need for all of the biological systems in our body.
And if we're looking at a diet exclusively of Twinkies, 1,800 calories is like 13 Twinkies. And I don't know about you, but I could easily crush that many and then still want to keep eating because you're not full. You're not satiated. Your literal biology is like, I have not achieved what I need from my diet.
Or you'll get sick. Like, remember as kids in Halloween, we'd get so sick eating candy because your body literally stops. It's like, we've had a fucking enough. Stop
Oh,
giving
yeah.
us more.
Yep. Yep. And especially because Twinkies are made up entirely of sugar and quick digesting carbs with, they kind of have like a healthy dose of fat, but also there's no protein in there to slow digestion. There's no fiber. There's nothing that you're really getting from these besides calories.
Yes, and we know this from past episodes. Actually chewing your food, and I could scream this from the rooftops. The more we chew our food, the better one we're able to assimilate those nutrients. But the real reason why chewing your food is so impactful, especially for higher volume meals, is that leptin release, right? Leptin is our satiety hormone. And so a Twinkie takes all of like 30 seconds, 90 seconds to eat. But a whole plate of whole nutrient dense foods might take 20 to 30 minutes to eat. So you're allowing that leptin to drip the more you're chewing and masticating your food. And
And your
on
body doesn't want to eat like crap forever. I'm sure
yeah,
that everybody can relate. Maybe it's a vacation, right? Where you go to Mexico, you have a lot of drinks and you eat like
yes.
butt for a few days. You're like stoked for a salad, right?
Yeah. We came back from Costa Rica, even though we ate like queens and like basically pretty much ate everything we usually eat. We were like, I'm ready to know that this vegetable doesn't have vegetable oil on it.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so the reason why we talk so heavily on this podcast about balancing and just balance and prioritizing more of the things that help you feel satiated and energized and empowered is, compared to just losing weight, is because over restriction isn't sustainable. And we want you bought in and confident in your decisions for the long haul. Long term health is significantly affected by temporary yo yo dieting like this from both a biological perspective and also a psychological perspective.
Yep. And we have plenty of studies where the evidence shows that diets primarily centered around ultra processed foods leads to higher risk of heart disease, weight gain, diabetes, poor gut health, and an increase in eating behaviors and less satiety. These foods are literally designed to be hyper palatable and make you want to keep eating. So these foods lack fiber, like we said, micronutrient diversity, and phytochemicals that help combat risk of disease, which, by the way, your multivitamin or your antioxidant supplement, those are not doing the same thing.
And one more thing I want to touch on there is that all of our biological systems in our body work together, right? And so and we've said this earlier, the study doesn't account for the long-term effects. And for something like saying like, oh, processed food affects gut health. It's like if you don't get a stomach ache after eating a Twinkie, you think, oh, it's not affected by me. But the reality is that some of these effects can last long term, right? If you eat a ton of processed food for a certain amount of time and then you change things, your gut microbiome might be dampened for the long term in terms of how your body's able to assimilate and use nutrients long term when your gut lining is damaged. Um, but I digress. One other cool thing about this experiment, it basically proved what we already know, right? Is that energy balance equals weight change, body mass change. And if your goal is to lose body fat or to lose body weight, we know that energy balance does matter. And that's pretty ironclad. Um, but we also know that food quality drives health, mood, energy, digestion, and just your general sustainability of health aligned behaviors and routines. And trust me, I probably ate like thousands of Rice Krispie treats in 2025. And upon reflection, I really can see a correlation between, the quality of my mental health last year and then just how much convenience ultra processed foods I was eating. And even now, like I really crave ultra processed foods in higher stress times because that's what my survival mechanism was
Well, it's also
during
easy. You don't have a lot of energy to give to, like,
right.
complex recipes when you're already burnt at both ends.
But then I'm also fueling with bullshit fuel, so then I keep it's like this whole cycle,
Yeah,
right?
so we don't want you fearing Rice Krispie treats or cookies, and we definitely aren't recommending an entire diet of ultra processed foods. We want you to build your foundation with lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, and healthy fats. Do what you need, add what you want. That's the takeaway phrase that I want you to bring home with you.
Yeah, and if you're still a little bit confused about what the heck to do this year about your nutrition, we have so many great episodes about nutrition specifically. And actually, episode 32 is about your metabolism. So definitely refer back to that one. Um, but yes, you can lose weight on processed foods, but do you really want to? So here's to performing, digesting, and feeling better. And health is more than just your weight status and what you see on the scale.
Exactly. Thanks for hanging with us today, and we hope this episode gave you some clarity. As always, if you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend. Connect with us on Instagram at overt_thinking podcast, at Brianna Lamb, at Kelsey Michelle. We heard your feedback that you want to see our faces in action, so leave us a comment on YouTube. And we'll see you
In
in
the
the next
next
episode.
episode.